welcome back to my channel. My name is Veronia and today I want to talk about financial literacy because I feel like it's not really spoken about in schools and it's not really spoken about in the workplace either. Now for me, when it comes to things like financial literacy, it's basically the understanding of how money works. So I really want to dive in a bit deeper and really talk about what you should be thinking about when it comes to financial literacy, especially if you're a beginner. So the first thing I want to do is actually understand what do we even mean when we're talking about financial literacy. And I've actually got an Investopedia definition, so I'm just going to read it out and let's see what it says. So Investopedia says that financial literacy is the ability to understand and make use of a variety of financial skills, including personal finance management, budgeting, and investing. It also means comprehending certain financial principles and concepts such as the time value of money, compound interest, managing debt, and financial planning. Now, I definitely did not learn about any of this when it came to school, and I didn't actually even learn about it when I started working either, or at university or anything like that. But for me, when I'm really thinking about financial literacy, I'm almost sort of breaking it down into how we actually understand how we spend, save, and then ultimately invest our money. So for me, I kind of want to take a few of these concepts and talk about it in a bit more detail, particularly if you are a beginner, so that you maybe understand what you should start learning about when it comes to your personal finances and financial literacy in general. So when it comes to financial literacy, the first thing I want to just deep dive on is actually how you spend your money. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this in a bit more detail is because spending money is probably going to be one of the most important things that you will be doing when it comes to actually building your wealth. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of people who actually aren't very financial literate are more likely to spend everything that they earn, and they're also more likely to use debt to even finance their lifestyle. So because people don't really understand the concept of maybe budgeting or saving or actually investing for their future, they're more likely to just spend for today and end up actually living above their means, spending money that they don't have to essentially impress people that they don't like. Now, when I'm talking about people using debt to even finance their lifestyle, this is really where financial literacy is so important, because if you don't understand how credit and debt works, then you're more likely to end up being broke over time, because all you're doing is just owing money to all of these creditors, really just spending all your money and debt to buy liabilities that don't actually make you money. So for example, if you aren't financially literate, you may not even realize that you're being charged interest when it comes to your credit card if you don't actually pay off the balance on time. And so essentially what that means is you'll basically be paying a certain percentage of interest to that credit card company on top of the money you have technically borrowed already. Now, of course, the higher the interest payments, then the more you're likely to pay. And this is really where financial literacy then obviously comes into play, because you end up actually having to pay these credit card companies, or even if you're not paying on time when it comes to these buy now pay later schemes, you're paying all of this money into your creditors, and your creditors are making huge amounts of money because you essentially are using debt to finance your lifestyle, which of course essentially means that you could end up paying hundreds if not thousands to these companies, and that's money going into their pockets and not yours. The second thing in terms of financial literacy that I want to talk about is really the concept of saving money. Now, when it comes to saving money, this is something that I'm definitely passionate about, and I do think that, again, this is pretty much a core foundation when it comes to your personal finances. However, there are going to be times where you do want to save money, and there's going to be times when you actually may want to invest your money. Now, in terms of your savings and debt, I actually want to talk about this in a bit more detail because I do think it's quite important to understand. Because what's funny is that the majority of people will obviously put some savings into their savings account, and most people aren't really saving very much money at all. So the money they have in the bank isn't probably that much anyway. However, what you really need to understand is actually how the bank works and how the bank makes money, because that's basically going to affect your money as well. So when you actually put money in the bank, and let's say that you've opened up a savings account with a bank, they might be giving you maybe 0.5% interest for keeping the money in the bank, or who knows, maybe they'll even give you 1 or 2%, which is very good during the season that we're currently in. Now, what that bank does with that money is they will actually take that money and essentially they will then lend it to someone else. So someone else may decide that they want to get a car loan, maybe they want to get a mortgage, or maybe they even want to get a personal loan, and those banks will then essentially use your money to basically lend it to someone else, but they're charging a lot more interest. So they may be charging 3%, 5%, 10%, even 15%, and they're basically pocketing the difference. So they're paying you 0.5% interest whilst they're making a 15% return on their money at the same time. Now, am I saying that you should never ever have your savings in the bank? Definitely not, because there are going to be times where you really do want to save your money, even if you're not really going to be getting that much interest. So of course you do want to have some savings in the bank, and that's going to be for a particular reason. Now, if you're not sure what you should actually be putting into your savings accounts, or you want to learn more about financial literacy and how to actually manage and invest your money in general, then I am actually going to be hosting a free training specifically for women next Thursday, the 28th of October at 7 p.m. GMT and 3 p.m. EST. And essentially what we're going to be doing is deep diving on the 3-step method to really start managing and investing your money like a boss, which will essentially help you go from spender to saver and ultimately to an investor. Now, there are over 100 women who have registered already, so if you are interested in joining me in that live free training, make sure you do sign up. The link will be in the description below and also in the comment section as well. Plus, if you can't make that date and time, don't worry, just make sure you still sign up so that you can get access to the recording. Just make sure that you check your junk or spam mail in case my email has landed there, but I'm looking forward to it and I'm excited to see you there. But essentially, when it comes to actually understanding financial literacy and how money works, saving money is going to be one of the most important things that you want to learn how to do and how to start building habits from, because that's actually going to help you when it comes to actually reaching some of your financial goals in your financial plan, but then also those habits can be used to invest in your future as well. Now, the next thing I want to talk about when it comes to financial literacy is actually understanding how you can prioritize your finances and how you can essentially create a monthly or weekly plan for it. Now, this is where I'm really talking about having the ability to almost create a spending plan for yourself so that you can essentially plan your finances well and reach your financial goals. So this is really where you'll hear things like having a budget in place. Now, when it comes to budgeting, that may be something that you don't enjoy doing, or maybe you feel restricted, but for whatever reason, essentially when it comes to budgeting, you are actually just telling your money what to do and where to go. So what you're going to be doing is just planning your expenses in advance. And most people don't necessarily do that. All they do is they basically just try to track their spending a little bit, but they don't actually plan their expenses in advance. But really, when it comes to financial literacy, a big part of that is going to be on how you can actually control your money. And one of those ways is going to be through a budget, because you're actually going to be telling your money exactly what it needs to do. Now, if budgeting is something that you've not necessarily done before, or maybe you've tried it and you've maybe just struggled to stick to it, then definitely check out my budgeting templates. It's something where I really try to make it quite simplified and less complicated so that you can essentially just plan your expenses in advance and you can be happy with it without feeling so restricted. Now, I do have a monthly budgeting template and a weekly budgeting template along with your net worth statement, plus a sinking funds calculator as well. So if you haven't checked that out yet, I will of course leave that link in the description below for you. But essentially, when it comes to increasing your financial literacy, ideally what you want to be doing is creating a system for your money whenever you get paid, so that your money knows exactly where it's going and you know what you're actually prioritizing as well. So essentially, when your money comes in, which is your income, there are going to be different areas that it will go because you've set up a system. Now, if you want to learn more about where your money should be going, definitely check out my video where I talk about places that your money should be going when you get paid. If you haven't watched that already, I will link that up here for you and in the description below. So the next thing I want to talk about when it comes to financial literacy is actually understanding how you can grow your money. So once you've been able to control your money, ideally what you want to be doing is actually growing your money, and that could potentially be through investing. Now, the reason why investing is so important, and it's something that you really do need to think about learning, is not only because it could help you reach financial independence, which basically means you no longer have to trade time for money and essentially your investments would be paying for your lifestyle, but also at the same time it's really important to start thinking about investing due to something called inflation. Now, when it comes to inflation, essentially what that means is that the value of your pound or dollar is actually going down over time, and you also may start to see that the price of goods and services are actually increasing over time. Now, at the point that I'm recording this, inflation is actually increasing quite a lot these days, so it's something that we really do need to be mindful about. And that's why actually investing in certain assets is going to be really important, because what you will start to see is that although inflation may be increasing, if you're actually investing in certain assets, they are also likely to increase in value as well. And actually, depending on the assets you invest in, not only will it actually match up with inflation, but a lot of times it will also beat inflation as well. So for example, let's say that inflation is around 3% each year, which means that your goods and services are going to increase by about 3% a year. If all of your money is basically sitting in a savings account earning 0.5% interest, then technically you are going to be losing money because your goods and services is going up by 3% whilst your savings is going up by 0.5%. But if you've actually invested your money, then you may find that actually the return on your investment could be 5%, could be 8%, could even be more than 10%. And so basically, even though inflation may be at 3%, if you're getting a return on your investment at about 10%, then clearly you can see that that investment is actually beating inflation. Now, when it comes to investing, there are obviously going to be risks, and you're not always guaranteed to make money all the time. It's definitely not a straight line. However, what you really want to be doing when it comes to financial literacy is basically educating yourself around investing and also around these different assets that you can invest in. So for example, you may choose to invest in equity. So that's really when I'm talking about the stock market. You could also choose to invest in real estate. And then there's also things like commodities, so maybe gold, silver, crude oil, or anything like that. But what you essentially want to be doing is learning how you can actually make your money work for you and how it can grow over time. Now again, this is something that I'm going to be walking through in more detail in my free live training next week. So if you are a woman and you're keen to know more, definitely make sure you sign up for that free training. But essentially what I would just stress is that financial literacy is something that we should always be learning. So essentially what you really want to be learning is not only just how money works, but how you can actually control your finances, whether that be through budgeting or creating a spending plan and actually saving your money, but then also how you can actually start growing your finances and making your money work for you. And that's probably going to be through things like actually investing your money. Now I do have a video where I talk about investing in a bit more detail as well, so definitely check that video out if you haven't already. I will of course link that up here for you and in the description below. But to this day, you will find that most people will be learning about financial literacy in some way. Even with me, it's something that I'm always trying to educate myself around as well. So for example, that could be through reading books, and in the description below I do have some of my favorite personal finance books, so make sure you do check it out. Or it could be through things like watching YouTube channels like mine, or even joining courses and programs, so that not only can you understand how money works, but also you want to know how you can actually apply it to your own personal finances. So if you did like this video, then please do give me a thumbs up if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments, what particular things do you think you should have been learning in school when it comes to financial literacy? I do post every Tuesday and Friday, so if you would like to know more, then of course you can subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys on Tuesday.